Ey'nsukwini nje ezedlule kudutshulwe kwabulawa abafana abathathu endaweni yase-Eldorado Park eGoli nokuqubule enkulu inkulumo mpikiswano ey'nkundleni zokuxhumana ngezizathu zalokhu. Abanye bethi laba bebengamalungu amagenge akuyona le ndawo mbukeli kuphela enale nkinga. Amalokishi amaningi ey'fundazweni zakuleli kukhalwa ngabafana abajoyina lamagenge obugebengu nokuthiwa abanye mbukeli basuke bephoqiwe kanti abanye bayikhethela nje. Asekhona-ke mbukeli nawo lamagenge nasey'koleni. Yini lena esihlulayo mbukeli singabazali, umphakathi, uhulumeni kanye ney'nhlangano ezizimele ukuthi silulisane nalokhu? Asekubingeleleke mbukeli sikwamukele ohlelweni Asikhulume Let's Talk. Igama lami nginguBongiwe uMakhumalo waKwaZwane. Khumbula-ke mbukeli ukuthi ungaba ingxenye yalolu hlelo, sishayele ucingo sizwe umbono noma umbuzo wakho inombolo zethu 011-714-0677 noma 0678. Siyatholakala futhi kumakhasi ethu okuxhumana ku-X @SABC Izindaba, ku-Facebook ikhasi lethu mbukeli u-SABC Izindaba. Ukuze kube lula-ke qala ngo-#Asikhulume #SABC News bese-ke ubhala umbuzo noma umbono wakho. Asikhulume. Mbukeli siyaye sithi indoda ayikhali, indoda iyaqinisela, indoda iyabekezela. Kungabe lamagama ayabakhana abafana abakhulayo mbukeli ukudingida kabanzi ngalokho? Asamukele ihambeli zethu uLereko Mfono noyi-Project Coordinator for Heartline's Fathers Matter Division, Sthembiso Phakathi ongumsunguli wenhlangano i-Single Dads Foundation, kanye noRefiloe Mohale, GM of YouthStart Foundation and the executive lead on the What About the Boys program. Kodwa ngaphambi kwalokho ake sizwe lo mbiko nesiuqoshele umdidiyeli wohlelo Asikhulume uNombuso Mahlangu.
Kababa okuzalayo eNingizimu Afrika kuyinto ejwayelekile. Kungabe yini umthelela walokho kakhulu ebantwaneni babafana na?
Most of bantwana babafana bayadingisa nje sabobaba, yabo, because makangekho ubaba umntwana ongumfana like kwathina sibazali sibomama siphinde sihluleke futhi kube nalento yokuthi kube ukhona ubaba wakhe, yabo.
Nowadays vele nje amadoda akhuliswa abantu besifazane and kunale stigma sokuthi umuntu indoda ayikhali, you know, and into engicabangayo mina ukuthi like everyone should cry. Ukukhala kuyasiza. So in most cases abafana mabangakhali, like that's how abanye they become aggressive and all that.
uZipho Msibi uthi ube yilungu leqembu lezigelekeqe elisatshwayo, nathi kwagcina kumfake empilweni yezidakamizwa nobugebengu.
Mina ngakhula nomama, umama wangikhulisa. Ubaba bekakhona mara he never akayidlalanga indima yakhe njengoba my past wasn't being right, because khathi ngizwa ngathi ngilahlekelwe ubaba inhleke akasanginaki, ngagcina ngawela kuyidakamizwa, so ilahle yami icishe yamosheka kakhulu.
Njengoba esengubaba wezingane ezimbili uMsibi, ube yini umthelela wokungabi noyise ekubeni ubaba ezinganeni zakhe?
Njengoba mina senginengane manje, akekho angifundisa ube indoda ngibheke ezinye izinto, akekho ngifundisile. Into evane ngifuna kubaba uthando lwakhe, because it doesn't know ukuthi nabazukulu manje.
uMsibi uthi ukuhlangana nomnumzana uWelcome Vet Boy nongumsunguli wenhlangano iBright Sparks Foundation esiza abafana abazithola bengena empilweni yezidakamizwa namagenge obugebengu kwayishintsha impilo yakhe. Uthini umnumzana uVet Boy ngalokho?
Role modeling doesn't just have to come from utata. It can also come from amanye amadoda. That is why sicela amadoda abambene ancedise onyana bethu bakhule bangacinga aningotata wakhe. Why must I? It's not that. Indoda must. Njengami ngingutata. Ubani vele emsebenzini into nibona ngendodakazi yami ufuna udlala. Ufuna ixesha lami. Ufuna ndibe khona nizokwazi ukconnecta naye. She doesn't want me to buy her stuff. Ufuna mina, and to many of these boys that we work with abanayo lanto.
uMsibi ngomunye wabafana ababe nenhlanhla yokuthola usizo nolushintshe impilo yakhe. Iningi ligcina ngokubulawa noma libhadle emajele. Umbuzo uthi senze njani njengesizwe ukukhulisa abafana ngendlela ukuze babe abaholi bakusasa abaqotho?
Mbukeli ake singene engxoxweni yethu. Sthembiso, and good evening to you both. I'm going to start with you. It just broke my heart. Kungizwisa ubuhlungu kakhulu ukuzwa ingane ithi, I just wanted his love. And I suppose that's all they need.
That's all they need, yeah, love and attention. I think ingane engago, they're looking for love and attention, but also guidance and leadership. And I always say that young boys, only a man can raise a man. And young boys are looking for identity, counsel, and that sense of belonging in a father. And I was looking at the clip. It doesn't have to be the biological father. It can be a social father.
Lereko, umsebenzi wakho kakhulu ubheka indaba zokuba ubaba. You know, when you think about responsible fatherhood, ngiyazibuza ukuthi what does that look like? Because kwesinye isikhathi uyayithola ubaba athi no, but I give you money. What more do you want? So yini responsible fatherhood?
Bongi, we found in our research 2019 when we started our Fathers Matter project that actually what fathers need is support and resources. We say we are here to promote the active and positive presence of men in the lives of children, because it's possible to find fathers in the home but being very absent, you know. So men need skills. We found skills gap. Economics play a big role in our country. We see fathers solely as providers, financial providers of their families. And so the issue with our unemployment rates affecting a lot of men is that what becomes of a man who's unable to provide? Then society, we look at him and say, now you are unnecessary for the family. So we're saying you can provide love, you can provide support.
Refiloe, last week you presented an impact report that was looking at 3 years, right, when it comes to the state of the boy child in South Africa. And we hardly sometimes talk about them. We speak about opportunities for young girls and the protection and all of that. Asikhulume, just briefly, what were some of the things briefly that you found as the state of the boy child over 3 years?
Good evening, Sisbongiwe and your listeners. Well, when we started this program 3 years ago, it was actually under the GBV National Strategic Plan, Pillar 2, which is social cohesion and just forgetting it now.
It's okay, it'll come. You can move on.
Yes. But what we figured out while doing the work of actually teaching our young boys to reimagine masculinity and teaching them how to be good men, we started to see that boys were seemingly disengaged in high schools. They were the ones actually that were, dropping out of school. They were the ones that, if you go to any community actually in South Africa, you'd notice that they are the ones that are mostly getting into drugs. They are the ones that are filling up our jail cells. And you actually mentioned the 4 boys that were shot in El Dorado Park. But what we have identified is that the boy child needs to be supported as much as the girl child has been supported. We started the program, Take a Girl Child to Work Day 20 years ago. But now we see that the girl child is, successful. The girl child is breaking through the glass ceiling. But our boys are not actually equipped to deal with a more confident, more successful, more confident girl child. And that's why we wanted to actually start supporting the boy child as well. And of course, reimagining masculinity, trauma support, creating hope and safe spaces. And what has come up out of our program, one of the biggest stats is that our boys are, number one, lacking positive role model figures in their lives. Number 2, we've seen that they are very disengaged in, looking forward towards their futures, career aspirations, but also they are more prone to be able, to getting into these violent acts.
So, Refiloe, pardon me for coming in there. Pardon me for coming in there. There's something you're mentioning that I don't want it to be lost to us. And Sthembiso, I'm listening to ingane as it disengaged. I'm listening to boys that Tiwa, they are not interested in one thing or another. Asikhulume nge-role edlalwa ubaba, just a father in a boy's life.
It's important. Thanks, Bonga. The role of a father is not just about guidance and support. I think also what we find is that outside of that sense of identity that the boy child is looking for, but also there are just some answers that only a father can answer, questions only a father can answer for the boy. And sometimes you find that eventually they look for those answers in other boys, from other boys, and when in fact a father figure will only be the person to give those answers.
Lereko, you're nodding.
Yes, yes. Bongi, gangsterism, which featured in your clip, is really simple psychology. Is that these gang leaders have found that there's a need that these boys have inside of their souls, because their fathers are not there to fulfill this gap. So these gang leaders adopt these boys and say, we will supply you with your needs. We can see that you're weeping. We can see that there are things that are short in the home. We can be your fathers. And so these gang leaders come in and bring in those boys. And so fathers bring in identity that Sthe is talking about.
There's something I didn't think about. Uguti, ingane mayizosondelana with a gang leader, it is to find this identity. And I wonder, as a single father, you know, Sthe, I'm going to come back to you, Refiloe. What does it do to you, baba, and you can't get access to your child? You're being blocked for one way or another, and you are worried that something like this might happen.
Yeah, there's a big issue. In the Single Dads Network, we always try and create bridges between fathers and their kids. It's almost demoralizing and when a father comes to our network and say, I've been blocked, especially because I haven't been able to pay maintenance. And the other parent will feel that because you don't support financially, we cut access. And these guys are basically helpless. They are saying, I do want to be available, because sometimes financial provision doesn't mean that actually you have an emotional relationship. So what we do in our network is to try and create those bonds, because emotional participation in the child's life is very critical.
Let us take a short break. When we come back, ngifuna sikhulume ngokuthi parents are getting younger every day. How do we also deal with that? Because these are parents who themselves, in other instances, didn't grow up without a father. So sishintsha kanjani all of that. Mbukeli, ake sithi shelele $8 siyabuya khona manje. Mbukeli, asibonge ukuthi usahleli kanye nathi. Ake sithathe ubabzwane Pietermaritzburg. Sawubona Mangethe.
Sawubona sisibonge njani?
Siyaphila baba, kafushane nje ungaqhubeka.
Igama lami uKhumbulani ngwawazwane, ngihlala la eMaritzburg eHenley Dam. Nginombuzo nje la ohlala ungihlupha la ukuthi kungani zonke inhlelo zikahulumeni zingayiphathi ingane zabafana, kukhulunywa ngezamantombazane kuphela. Kuyimanje nje ngiphethe iphepha la likaNdunankulu wase-KZN eliphethe uxhaso lwey'ngane zamantombazane kuphela. Lezi zabafana kuthiwa yishontsiphi, ngempela yini kubuyiswe ngazo? Omama ngoba sebeyakwazi ukubona ingane ingakazalwa, yini ndawo bengavele beyihushule kunokuthi kuzobukiswa ngazo? Yilowo mbuzo nje ongihluphayo.
Siyabonga baba. That was heavy. That was very heavy. And Refiloe, I'm going to bring this one to you. We're listening to Babzwane, who says that if you're bringing a boy child to this world and without a plan for them, and you're just going to abandon them and not give them opportunities, because even some of the opportunities in government are not given to boys, you may as well not let that child come to this world, because it's a bleak future that they're coming into. And it speaks to the report that you had compiled, that speaks to how they are disengaged.
Correct, Sisbongi. And I fundamentally believe that every single child, of course, deserves a right to life, but every single one of us, under the Child Protection Act, of course, and the UN Convention of the Rights of the Child, are obligated to protect our children. And I think it's actually a very good time for us to actually take a step back, because it is the midterm review of our NSP, to look at the work that we have done. Looking at supporting the boy child, of course, but how that is able then to assist us in preventing gender-based violence, as we see that our boys don't know how to share emotions in healthy ways, number one. They haven't been taught to stand up and speak out against, inequality and wrongs. And we see fundamentally that they don't know how to accept and connect with others. And of course, it's because we've boxed them in these societal norms, which goes back to what Lereko and Sthembiso have been saying, that boys need positive male role model figures in their lives. And we see that fathers and mothers play a very important role in raising up our children.
You're mentioning something very important, and Lereko, I'm wondering, Goba, abazali, they're getting younger, and you find a boy is growing up to be a man, agagaza khule nobabu wakhe, and he gets married, uba neingane. Sekufanele manje, that boy must be a father. How do you do this?
Yeah, we were just having a chat about millennial dads, and they need support. They need support. There's various organizations who are developing resources, and I think that's one of the things that we need to really focus on. For instance, Fathers Matter, we've designed a Fathers Matter coach that is there just to hold the hand of this young father to say, this is new terrain for you. You yourself were not fathered. You don't understand this thing. It's quite new, but there's this resource that can assist you to learn the skill of parenting. It is a skill. Women had to learn that skill. These young fathers can learn that skill. So it's really gathering around them and supporting them.
Stay, ubaba, for example, when you look at njengoba ulalela uMangethe ekhuluma ukuthi kwesinye isikhathi uhulumeni akanikeze the opportunities to boy children and bayayithola outside without anything. How much of a devastating thing is that?
It's devastating, because even organizations, it's always about women and children. And by the way, when they talk about children, they're talking about a girl child. So he and I were talking during the break. I just think we can't accept the notion that a boy child should be neglected, because we know where they end up. So I just think it's a societal conditioning that the kids that are at risk are a girl child. And people just think that a boy child is going to navigate life. Somehow, somewhere he's going to figure things out. And then suddenly they grow up to be men. And then I said the other day, it's hard to fix a broken man than to groom a young man or a child. Because once an older person is broken and he's got societal issues that are hard to bend or change. So if you can groom a young person and give them the teachings and the lessons and prepare them to be responsible men, badala, we are going to change society. But it starts in the home, it starts in the society, and even the conditioning of our organizations need to change. And
how then, Refiloe, do we begin to call each other out? Ngoba thina abantu besifazane, we can at times, although it gets uncomfortable. Kodwa nina ningabantu besilisa, are you calling each other out? And how important is it ukuthi bangabe ubona umuntu wesilisa ebheda and not being the father that they should be, umkwazi ukumtshela as the friend?
Thing is, society has put this picture of what it means to be a real man. And if you go into our South African communities, the things that really, the qualities that really, give you that praise is, having a nice car, having lots of girlfriends, being promiscuous, being violent, being feared. But those are actually the qualities that we are trying to steer our young boys away from. We want them to be good. We want them to be kind. We want them to be ethical. We want to teach them how to be a good man. And in our program, we actually say raising a nation of good men. And it starts with us men actually leading our young boys and teaching them how to be affectionate, how to be present, how to be good fathers, how to be good husbands, good partners. And not just that, but also being able to call each other out. You can't just, stay silent while your neighbor's wife is being abused every single day. And that's also what we teach our young boys, actually, to stand up against bullying and inequality and being able to be allies to women and girls.
When we come back from the break, I want all three of you to give me that one thing that tonight we can do to help a boy child. Mbukele, siyabuya unkanyakaza. Mbukeli sesiphetha nje ake sibheke ukuthi kungenziwa kanjani ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi izingane zethu zabafana zikwazi ukuthi zithole usizo. I'm going to start with you Lereko. Siqala ngakuphi ukuthi size umuntu wesilisa, especially one who doesn't know where to talk to or who to talk to or where to turn to mabedinga ukukhuluma.
So firstly, we need spaces that are safe for men to be able to talk. We need organizations. TED does a podcast. We're all doing work in the media space to encourage conversation so that men have a space for them to talk. But we need a movement of social fathers across the country. State of South African Fatherhood Report released that the statistics around absent biological dads still very high. But what's also high is that these children who are growing up without biological fathers have access to social fathers, uncles, grandparents, pastors, teachers. So we need to rally around and support these social fathers to say, you are aware as an uncle that you are now the father of that child. And so how do we resource you? How do we teach you the skill of being there? Because these young boys have a lot that they're carrying, Bongi, a lot that they're carrying through the work that we're doing. They are really walking around with bleeding hearts. So how do we rally around and support social fathers, have broader awareness around this conversation that we're having here today?
Yeah, I think we need to allow men and young men and boys to heal, and we need to actually make it normal for them to feel and express themselves. And I like what he said, that creating spaces, an environment where people can express themselves, and not to make it bizarre for a boy to cry or a man to cry. I think that's where it starts.
Now I don't feel bad for allowing my son to cry from time to time. Refiloe, quickly, just before I let you go, in about 30 seconds, how do we help the boy child? Where do we start?
I love what Sthembiso said about healing. Men and boys need healing. And I myself have been fortunate enough to have had a very good example from my father. I'd like to give a call to action to all men out there to be present fathers. Be there for your boys. Listen to them. Spend time with them. And together, we know that we can do better. Let's continuously strive to be a better man.
Let me thank you all for talking to us about this, and well done to you also for speaking about a subject that is sometimes so difficult to talk about. And mbukeli nawe mangabusekhaya and ubaba okhona, ubaba who's present for your children, well done. Because this is quite the achievement. Kodwa siyabonga mbukeli ukuthi uhlanganyele kanye nathi nehambeli zethu Lereko Mfono, who is a project coordinator for Heartline's Fathers Matter division. Sthembiso Phakathi, founder of Single Dads Foundation, and Refiloe Mohale, GM of YouthStart Foundation and executive lead on What About the Boys program. Mbukeli khumbula umaphuthelo lolu hlelo sikhumbuzeke ukuthi liyaphinda kusasa ngehora lesithathu emini ku SABC 1 kuze kube ngokuzayo.